think about what is on your mind and what you might want to ask. If I were debating Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, and he concluded a speech that was replete with praise and adoration for the state of Israel, with the statement, "Get back to the damn table," I would say to Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, why don't you tell the POTUS, President of the United States, to say something about the fact that the Hamas charter calls for the destruction of Israel? Exactly, it says, no negotiations will take place unless it rejects Article 6 of the Hamas charter, the Hamas covenant, that Israel will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it. I would say to Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, tell President Obama to tell Abbas and Fatah no more aid until you erase Article 12 of its Constitution, which calls for the complete, quote, liberation of Palestine and eradication of the Zionist economic, political, military, and cultural existence, end quote. I say it's unconscionable that we are sending our tax money to these terrorists in the Middle East. And I am asking the panelists to address this question: what has Congress been doing about these matters in the past 10 years? The statement by Newt Gingrich that Palestinians are an invented people has really gotten a lot of debate going, and it's exciting that people are now waking up to these realities. People, dear friends, I was a friend in Skokie, Illinois, having grown up in Rogers Park, of David Applebaum, a great physician who established the terror clinics in Israel, throughout Israel. I guess what really got me started on my pro-Israel activities was the blowing up of the Cafe Hillel in Jerusalem. He and his daughter were there talking about her impending wedding the next morning. Nava Applebaum to be married the next morning. A bomb was set off. The Cafe Hillel was blown up. And this great physician was killed. We've got to keep this in mind, that there could be a new Holocaust. We've got to remember, never again, never forget. That's why we have to pressure Congress to stand with Israel. I've been convinced that we need to pressure our congressional representatives that this new Holocaust could happen. We're not just professional doomsayers here, paranoid. We're worried about the arming of Iran with weapons-grade uranium nuclear weapons. We've had great writers come to Bedbury, Racine, or alone. Today, we're going to really be in for a treat, because we're going to hear from guys who get out in the street, do rallies, and stand up and talk the truth. I'm with Floridians for the Safety and Security of Israel, and we do things down here in Kendall, Dixie Highway and 104th Street every so often. And it's not a matter of being politically correct and shy and timid when we're talking about these issues. We've got to really have the guts to tell it like it is, because time is short, in my opinion. It's not a matter of being politically correct and timid and gutless. We've got to talk about these realities. I love this magazine, this periodical called Cameron, which puts out media reports. I brought some great books, and I've got in the back of the room the Jerusalem report, which you can feel free to borrow. Confronting Time magazine, the New York Times, PBS, and even a TV station called, I forget the name of it. We've got to speak out about anti-Semitism. anti-Israel garbage on the media, the airwaves. We've got to say, hey, whoa, hold on a minute. Israel's the homeland of the Jews. We've been there for 3,000 years. We're not occupying anything. So, in conclusion, we rally and confront these appeasing politicians. We don't want to shrink back and say nothing. Israel allows tons and tons of aid to go into Gaza, and yet the rockets are shot into southern Israel. Lately there's been problems in northern Israel. What about the Arab Spring? We're going to find out today from our experts. Is democracy a good thing, really, when you come down to it? Check out on the airwaves Marty Roberts, live from Jerusalem. Terry and Jeremy Capel, Tamar Yona, Israel National Radio. Here's the truth. I'm going to pose questions to the moderator, to the panelists. My co-moderator, David Tobolowski, is going to also pose questions. And you are welcome to think of interesting questions. So I'm going to close and now call on Joe Kaufman to come up. Rabbi Sam Intrater is on his way with his family. But where is that Haganah mentality, the Irgun mentality? I say that Yasser Arafat probably should have been taken out. That's the reality of it. That he was a monster. Okay. Joe Kaufman's a candidate for the 20th Congressional District, a seat held by Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And I'm going to now pass the microphone over to him. Joe Kaufman, everybody. Let's have a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak in front of you today about a very important subject. Years from now, we will have to ask ourselves how and why we allowed our friend Israel to be placed in such danger. How we allowed the Muslim Brotherhood to take over Egypt after we had invested billions of dollars of weapons in the Mubarak regime. How we attacked a non-threat in Muammar Gaddafi and helped put an Al-Qaeda organization in charge of Libya's military. And how, God forbid, we let Iran get nuclear weapons, not only threatening Israel's future existence, but our own as well. Last May, Barack Obama gave his disastrous speech about how Israel should go into peace talks with the Palestinian occupiers of the Gaza Strip and Judea and Samaria by going back to indefensible pre-1967 borders. A move that, if Israel acquiesced, would mean suicide for the tiny Jewish state. The perception is that President Obama has animosity towards Israel. The perception is correct. Indeed, Barack Obama is the most anti-Israel president in the history of the United States, rivaled only by Hamas lover Jimmy Carter. Now, there are some who believe that the president's 67 borders plan for Israel would be perfectly fine. DNC chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz came out totally in favor of it. But she doesn't have to live there and deal with the possibility of enemy missiles reaching Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. Remember, in 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israel's enemies were fighting with things like mortars and rifles.